Welcome back to another episode filled with twists, turns, and a dose of sweet, mechanical vengeance. Today, we dive into a story of a car repeatedly parked illegally and the ingenious solution one person and their friends concocted to deal with the issue. Not sure if this is petty or pro, but it was certainly creative and extremely funny at the time, so I'll try here. I live in an apartment building which has end-to-end parking for 2 spaces per apartment, and access to the parking levels, 1 to 5, are done via a locked automatic roller door, which people can only get through if they have a remote for it, or sneak through behind someone else. I only have a single car, and sometimes I let my friends park in the space in front of my car if they give me notice, so I generally park at the back of the double space. Plus it's easier for my neighbours who have 2 cars. Earlier this year, a random car began parking in front of mine on Friday afternoons, meaning I couldn't go out with my car on Friday nights. Annoying, but not the biggest issue when you live super close to the city. This continued nearly every week over about 5 weeks, when I didn't park my car at the front of the bay, which I began doing. But times I planned to leave the space free for friends coming over, or whatever, the car appeared again. I made repeated attempts to stop this behavior by leaving notes, which escalated into leaving printouts of a photo of the car with the license plate clearly visible, and an explanation that if it happened again, I'd press charges and/or have the vehicle towed. Well, it happened again, and this time it was still there Saturday afternoon when I had been planning on going away with a group of my mates. My guess is someone went out on Friday, got drunk, and decided to pick up the car later, not concerning themselves with the inconvenience it caused anyone else. It clearly hadn't moved, as my aggressive note telling them to fuck off was still there sitting limply under their wiper blades. I figured enough was enough. It was time to have the vehicle towed, so I called building management and eventually calling a towing company who refused to help because the space was on the 3rd floor. And they can't get any trucks up to that level because of the height and space restrictions. Ordinarily, most people would be pretty much screwed at this point, and I will admit I briefly considered sitting on the hood of the car until the jackass came to pick it up, whilst sending my mates on their way without me. But they would have had to work out a new arrangement for transport, as one car wouldn't have cut it. Fortunately for me, however, my parents only live 30 minutes away and have a garage where I work on one of my cars that's getting at the tail end of a minor restoration. One of the things I use pretty often is a set of vehicle positioning jacks to jam my project car right up against the wall of the garage to minimize the space it takes up. For anyone that doesn't know, vehicle positioning jacks are basically devices that slot under each wheel, then lift the car up on hydraulics so you can freewheel it in any direction. Whilst I hadn't originally gone to retrieve them, when I had to take my project car off them, a bright idea came to my head. None of my mates minded spending an extra hour to screw someone over that had interfered with us, so we grabbed the jacks and went back, propped the car up and wheeled it out. 6 guys can easily move around a small hatchback, so we pushed across the levels slowly and carefully to an area where there isn't parking, but is a load-supporting pillar with space enough for a car behind it, in a little section of the garage where it isn't lit, and is completely out of the way. Typically, there's a guy on my level that parks a motorbike there, but he isn't meant to, and I doubted he minded. We dumped it between the pillar and the wall, with the nose pointing towards the wall. I took back my angry note, the jacks, and we left to enjoy our weekend. When he came back Monday afternoon after the long weekend, the car was still there, which was no real surprise, considering there was only about a foot of space for movement between the pillar and car, and another foot or so between the car and the wall. From the fact the front wheels had changed, we're guessing they did try to get it out, unsuccessfully. It eventually went later in the week, though I'm not exactly sure how they managed it. I never saw that car again. Info Edit 1. As requested, my shitty MS Paint graphic, made in GIMP, because way to break the mold, to explain the positioning. Now with animations. For the record, I'm pretty sure we spun it around half a dozen times whilst moving it, because none of my mates had ever seen the ease of which vehicle positioning jacks move cars around. I probably could have done it myself, since I know how they tend to move, but two novices could easily have done it extremely easily. Plus, there is something weirdly amusing about dancing a car around as it slides in directions it was never meant to, and that you only see in car crash dashcam videos from Russia. Info Edit 2. For anyone who doesn't understand how parking in my building works, it's like this. 2 car spaces per apartment, but 1 car goes in front of the other. Hope that clears up why I couldn't just move my car out and leave his where it was. Info Edit 3. I'm an Australian, for anyone who missed my username. Info Edit 4. A few people have asked why I don't simply park at the front of my spaces. I don't always drive to work because I live close enough so my car stays home. My mates will need to go into city every so often. Usually happens randomly, like once a week. So if I leave my car at the front of the bay, I'd either need to go home to move it, or tell my mates they're shit out of luck. I'd rather not take away a benefit to my friends, all because the occasional jackass, and single persistent jackass, wants to freeload too. At least my mates buy me beer, or pay for my gas occasionally. Plus, the person parking in my space illegally is the one doing something wrong, not me. Info Edit 5. Police also will not help unless the vehicle has been there long enough to be considered abandoned. However, cite that I'm within my right to have the vehicle moved or towed, which, as I've pointed out, won't happen because of the difficulty unless I pay a ridiculous removal fee, which is greater than the impound charge. Final misc edit. Thank you to everyone who has enjoyed reading this, laughed, upvoted, downvoted, commented, and been kind enough to gift a silver or gold. First time having any of this attention, so it's a bit of a shock for me, especially over something I didn't think much of after. I never would have thought 7 mates desperate to get away for the weekend would bring so much internet praise. I mean, this may seem silly, but I really am extremely appreciative of the silver and gold gifts from those of you who have given them. So, again, thanks everyone for the upvotes, comments, gifts, and chuckles I'm sure some of you had. If you enjoyed the story of this epic parking showdown, don't forget to like and share the video to support more wild tales. Hit that subscribe button to never miss out on another crazy adventure. And until next time, may all your parking spots be clear.